You're fired, effective immediately. The new CEO barely looked up from her portfolio before telling me to hand over the logistics system. All of it. I stayed calm. Then I smiled and said, I'm afraid I can't do that. She frowned. Why not? I looked around the room and answered, because it isn't yours to own. Suddenly, nobody was smiling anymore. My name is Dana. I'm 41, and I've spent the last decade building custom inventory infrastructure for mid-size retail operations. The kind of work that never gets featured in trade magazines, but keeps entire supply chains from collapsing on a Tuesday afternoon. I didn't start as a developer. I started on warehouse floors at 19, learning how freight actually moved, not from a dashboard, but from the docks, watching logistics managers troubleshoot in real time while dispatch software spit out wrong answers. I picked up coding in my mid-20s specifically because I was tired of watching smart people struggle with tools built by people who'd never touched a pallet. By the time I was writing production code, I already understood the problem I was solving better than most developers ever would. That combination turned out to be rare and eventually very valuable. 6 years ago, Hartwell Retail Group hired me through a referral. 47 stores across 4 states, mid-range apparel and home goods. Their inventory system was a patchwork of 3 incompatible platforms that required a full staff to manually reconcile every single night. They were hemorrhaging an estimated $340,000 a year in shrinkage and spoilage because nothing communicated in real time. I spent 8 months building them something that actually worked. Custom sync architecture, live pricing feeds, automated warehouse reconciliation, SKU level tracking down to individual shelf positions. All of it running on a server rack I own personally, installed in their main distribution center under a hardware lease agreement. The contract I drafted was specific because I'd been burned before. Section 4, paragraph 2, all system architecture, source code, and operational infrastructure remain the exclusive intellectual property of the developer. The client is granted a non-transferable operational license for the duration of the service agreement. The previous VP of operations, Richard Chu, read every clause before signing. He asked good questions. He understood exactly what he was getting, access to something powerful that I still controlled, and he was completely fine with that arrangement because the results justified it within the first quarter. Inventory accuracy climbed from 71% to 98.4%. Shrinkage dropped by $290,000 in year 1. For 6 years, the system ran without a single critical failure. Richard would send a short email every few months. System looks great, Dana. And that was the whole relationship. Clean, professional, exactly as it should be. Then Richard retired. Melissa Crane arrived 3 weeks later with a Wharton MBA, a leather portfolio she carried everywhere like a prop, and the unshakable conviction that operational efficiency was something you achieved through budget reduction rather than operational understanding. Her first email reached me before we'd even been formally introduced. Subject line, external vendor cost review. 4 sentences of polished corporate language about reducing third-party dependencies and evaluating recurring cost structures. I'd seen this pattern before. New executive, no operational background, spots a monthly line item with an outside name on it and assumes it's excess. I replied the same day, attaching the original contract, our full 6-year performance record, and a plain language summary of what the system actually did. She didn't read any of it. 2 weeks later, I was called in for a vendor review. Melissa, an HR representative and a consultant from a firm that specialized in helping companies strip value from contractors who hadn't protected themselves properly. Melissa opened her portfolio, clicked her pen, and told me my contract was being terminated effective immediately. She needed all credentials, full documentation, and every system file transferred to their IT department by end of business today. She said it the way people say things when they've already decided and can't conceive of a complication. Here's what she didn't know about the failsafe. I built it into every system I delivered since 2019, after a client dispute that taught me a lesson I only needed to learn once. A silent authentication check running every 15 minutes in the background. Valid contract. Everything operates normally. Terminated contract. A clean, quiet disconnection sequence begins. One subsystem at a time. No alarms, no error messages, no dramatic shutdowns. Just a calm, graceful separation from every live data feed over the course of about 12 minutes, designed to be invisible until it wasn't. Melissa had formally terminated my contract at 10:47 a.m. The check ran at 10:50. It was 11:02 when her phone buzzed. Then the consultants. Then the HR tablet lit up with a cascade of alerts forwarded from the distribution floor. Melissa looked at her screen. Then, slowly, for the first time since I'd walked into that room, she looked directly at me. Inventory sync is down. All 47 stores. I picked up my bag and stood. That's correct. Your license just expired. Full story on the channel linked below.